and how that unity was strategic, convenient, and collaborative for very clear ends comes out through the reading of this particular literature. And then you'll ask yourself, in light of this, with this historical experience, which was staring in your face, did you draft the constitution with all of this in mind to protect the community which is the victim, the true victim? The other thing that I'm also trying to show through the book is kindly stop buying into this nonsense called that the partition of Bharat is the sole creation of the divide and rule policy of the British. It is utter BS. There is no basis for this whatsoever. The divide and rule policy did not create a division, it exploited an existing division that existed for 1,000 years. So anybody who wants to wallow in this comfortable, infantile, juvenile notion, I'm sorry to say, is subscribing to a history textbook of 7th standard. And that too by NCERT, so don't subscribe to it at all. Those honeymoon phases of unity, how fraught they were with riots and how fragile it was, becomes very, very clear once the purpose of the Khilafat movement is lost. Then they don't need Hindu support whatsoever, because the purpose of the Khilafat movement was destroyed by a Muslim, Kemal Ataturk, who abolished the Khilafat, secularized his country, but of course that process I think is a failure now thanks to the person who thinks of himself as the revival or the reviver of the Khilafat, again Erdogan. So when you see all of this, you realize that you are needed when you are needed and not beyond. And the justification for that unity was also given through a Quranic verse. And the person who was giving this particular justification, saying that this collaboration is Quranically justified and sanctified, was the first education minister of independent Bharat, Azad. How he was one of the leading proponents of the Khilafat is only half of the equation. The other half of the equation is one of the most virulent believers and proponents of the concept, the doctrinal concept of jihad. His writings reflect that over and over and over again. He was a hardcore Wahhabi. Who was the Manasputra of Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani, one of the foremost pan-Islamist thinkers of the 19th century, who was single-handedly responsible for giving the Turkish or the Ottoman Caliphate a certain position of importance when Egypt had fallen and other countries had fallen. The Emir of Afghanistan was effectively rendered a notch girl of the British, and then he realized that he needed external powers. So this person re-energized the Muslim population across the world, and the people who learnt from him were members of Deoband, Firangi Mahal, and Maulana Azad. These connections are drawn in the book. At the outset, let me also say this lest I'm seen as taking credit for all the literature and the research. This literature has existed in the public domain, obviously. What I have done is to bring them all together using the skill set of a lawyer in terms of marshalling evidence to say this is what the evidence says. There have, in fact, Sri R.C. Majumdar has captured this in some detail. Then Sri H.K. Seshadri has captured it in some detail. There are fantastic books capturing the journey of the Aligarh movement by M.S. Jain. But to put it all together is where I think my original contribution lies. And I can say this without being immodest or modest, because this is a factual statement. So this much I'm very confident of in terms of the fundamental building blocks or the foundation on which the book rests. It's solid literature. It has close to 1400 references. I'm very clear about what I've done here. So factually, at the very least, I can't be countered. Let's see what happens to logic after that. The point I'm trying to make is, kindly, perhaps this is going to be my leitmotif in all the book talks. This is no more an academic exercise. I'm not in the business of motivational speaking. I'm a serious practitioner of the law. I'm trying to take time out only to perhaps help the community understand what I think it needs to understand and ought to have understood way before. And hopefully with the belief that once facts are presented, then they will run out of excuses to say हमें ये पहले पता ही नहीं था, अब तो पता चल गया, अब क्या कर लेंगे देख लेते हैं. Perhaps that is the gauntlet I am throwing at my own community. That now you can't say our history textbooks never taught us. It's okay. Now you have other material. People who are taking time out of their lives to actually present this material before you. What are you going to do with this literature? How is it going to translate to decisions at the personal level and the collective level is for you to decide. What kind of questions are you going to ask of your elected representatives to ensure that there is no concession whatsoever as far as your civilizational interests are concerned? And how do you get the job done? These are the kind of questions that I would expect and perhaps request platforms like Prabodhan Manch to engage with. So that apart from showcasing the work of individuals, it also translates to creating a corpus of information and opinion so that there are workable and deliverable goals to work towards. The time has come for that. Once you read the 9th chapter, and this was a calculated intent on my part, that people will finish reading the 9th chapter and leave the book the same way they left after watching the Kashmir files. It so happened that, fortunately, during the course of the writing of the book, I happened to watch the Kashmir files. And when I came out, I know what my condition was. Not despair, but very clear purpose. In the sense that tel lene gaya politically correct labels. I don't care for labels anymore. Go ahead, call me a fascist. Go ahead, call me a Savarna fascist. Go ahead, call me a bigot. I will do a Vishpan comfortably. I have developed the thick skin. God has made me fat enough for that. कुछ नहीं होगा, कोई असर नहीं पड़ेगा.